All right, let's waste no time. This is an emergency intro to the latest Pats Interference podcast because the Patriots have surprised most, if not all of us, by releasing Jabrill Peppers today, Friday, August 29th, 3 days after the NFL's roster cut deadline. I don't get it. I don't know definitively why the Patriots did this, but based on the texts and calls that I placed and gotten back over the last hour or so, I do have some information that I think you should know and really helps contextualize what this move was about. Before we get specifically to Peppers, though, I want to reiterate something I said in our last episode, talking about why Kyle Duggar is still here, why Kendrick Bourne is not. And what I said was, in year one of a rebuild, which is what Mike Vrabel's doing here with the Patriots, front offices very often, and this now includes the Patriots, have to keep players that they do not love or in some cases flat out do not want because they don't have any better options. And we saw this with Duggar and Jennings, and this list will go on and on and on as further we get into the season. This list, though, does not include Jabrill Peppers. And based on his on-field performance in the preseason and in training camp, when he spent virtually all summer with the starting group, is a decision that, in my, let's say, informed opinion, was not strictly about his on-field performance. This was something new. This was different. That speaks to the timing. It speaks to what he's actually been doing, scheme fit, transition, all of that. The Patriots take a $4 million dead cap hit by releasing Jabrill Peppers at this point, who only had $4.3 million left guaranteed. So it also doesn't create much cap space. I think it's around $2 million. Cool. You already led the league there anyway. But Jabrill Peppers is someone that they wanted to part ways with more than most players, because I can tell you, in checking in with 4 teams now, none of them heard from the Patriots about possibly taking on Jabrill Peppers. So whether or not they shopped him, I can't tell you across the entire league. What I can tell you, though, is they did not shop him as hard as they shopped Kyle Duggar. And he was not known to be available in the way that Anthony Jennings was known to be available. So what other considerations could there be? This is dangerous territory. So we are not going to do anything more but dip our pinky toe into these waters. And you can do that in your own time. I am not going to do that as a journalist for this podcast. What I will say, though, is the list of things that would first come to mind about why the Patriots would want to release Jabrill Peppers, who, to be fair, just like Kendrick Bourne, but to a lesser degree, did not make Mike Vrabel an offer he couldn't refuse with his play. Okay, I thought he had a decent summer. It wasn't an outstanding one, but clearly the Patriots could and wanted to part with him. What are the other reasons? Number one, probably a culture thing. This is a guy who not only came up under Bill Belichick, of which we've seen a lot of guys who have been let go, but signed an extension under Elliot Wolf, and wasn't precisely a fit for Mike Vrabel. He played with a violent style, but this is someone who was a captain under Gerard Mayo. You know, of course, about the domestic violence charges, which were all acquitted last year after an incident at his home in October. But beyond culture, there's something about your program and your messaging getting through to the younger players. It clearly has with guys like Craig Woodson, who Vrabel cited when asked, why was Jabrill Peppers playing deep into that third preseason game? And you go, hey, that's probably a reason you need to say why they released him. Why didn't you do it Tuesday? And why didn't you shop him Monday when you knew this might be something on the table? So the second reason is something we just flat out don't know and can't speculate about in the building. And this is a text I just got before we started recording from a league executive who said, quote, definitely not about on the field at this point. Something must have happened or has been happening. That's where we'll leave that. But as Mike Vrabel continues to reshape this team, clearly they did not believe Jabrill Peppers was best suited to do this. So whatever it is, a culture, maybe a little bit of piece of the salary. He is 29, about to turn 30. Okay. They all come into play. But the timing of this tells you this was not just about Jabrill Peppers isn't good anymore. It's he's not good enough for Mike Vrabel and this team moving forward, even if unequivocally you could count him as one of their best defenders and better players on the team. So they didn't shop him. They didn't want him. Something seems to have changed. And now the Patriots safety room is down to Craig Woodson, Jalen Hawkins, Del Pettis, who I like a lot, Kyle Duggar, who we mentioned, and Brendan Schooler. And if you've not listened to my last podcast and sharing all the intel about the last second decision, basically, to keep Kyle Duggar on the roster, which is what happened Tuesday on Cutdown Day, please go back and listen to this. One final parting thought before we go. I mentioned Elliot Wolf. There was an executive in the league who raised this idea to me about, again, cleaning out all the Belichick and Mayo guys. He said, no, I think this is about the Wolf guys. And Wolf himself might be next, which is, of course, speculation. This person does not know, doesn't seem to have talked to Mike Vrabel about this. But there are plenty of grounds and reasons to get rid of Elliot Wolf at this point, especially as Mike Vrabel goes into year 2, not the least of which is Ryden County is waiting right behind him, as we know, is his number 2. Here are some of those reasons. The Patriots have 2 draft picks left from last year's draft class. As I understand it, Cade Wallace, as I'll tell you in this episode with Brian Barrett, probably the 53rd player in the roster right now. So you might be down to 1 in a matter of weeks, and that's the quarterback who fell to them at number 3. Aside from the draft picks, here are all of the Patriots re-signings and extensions under Wolf last year. Let's start with Peppers. He got a 3-year, $24 million deal. Gone. Devon Gottschalk, 2 years, $21 million. Gone. Dumped for a 7th-round pick. David Andrews, 2 years, $12 million. Hurt, not Elliot Wolf's fault, and retired. He's gone. Kendrick Bourne, 3 years, $19.5 million, only 5.5 of which was guaranteed. Gone. Couldn't trade him. And if they were, it was going to be a 6th or a 7th. Josh Uche, which you forget. And this was a good deal, hailed at the time. 1 year, $3 million. Gone. Then you get to Duggar, 4 years, $58 million. He was shopped. Anthony Jennings, 3 years, $12 million. He's been shopped. Christian Barmore's deal still TBD, obviously, given the health. Mike Onwenu's looked slightly underwater. Ramondre Stevenson, another extension that looks slightly underwater. 4 years, $36 million for a guy who might not be starting come November. Hunter Henry, good deal. Jelani Tavai, 3 years, $16 million. We'll see. So that's it. This might have more to do with Elliot Wolf than it does Jabrill Peppers. But for now, that front office, led by Wolf, did not shop him across the entire league. That's a fact. And it did not see him as the best piece of their future moving forward, even though he was one of their more talented and proven players. All right, that's it. Here comes Brian Barrett and what will sound like an entirely new intro, because that's what it is before we get to talking. Subscribe @_Andrew Callahan. Got a lot of intel, a lot of videos on the YouTube channel @_Andrew Callahan. Thanks, guys.